Moments That Matter is brought to you by Binkley Ross Family of Funeral Homes and by Melise's, the best little suit shop in town.
Welcome to Moments That Matter, the podcast from the Voyage Senior Living, where we celebrate the small joys and big breakthroughs that shape our community. I'm your host, Melise Oakley, and today we're exploring one of the most heartwarming programs we offer, which is pet therapy. From wagging tails to general purrs, these furry companions bring comfort, connections, and healing to our residents in many different ways. My guest today is Jessica Gibson. Blue, and we brought Blue right here, and also Millie, some of our therapy dogs at the Voyage Senior Living. Jessica, thank you for coming today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
What is pet therapy to you?
Well, I think pet therapy comes in a lot of forms. So it's the touch,
Right?
the closeness, the companionship, sometimes just simply watching animals do what they do, the peacefulness of sitting in your thoughts and having that ability. But I think there's just all kinds of things. It's sadness, it's anxiety, it's happy moments, it's sad moments, it's things that your pets were with you that you remember, big moments or small moments.
And we can have our ugly cries, like you said.
Oh yes, yes, I've ugly cried with my pets many times. They've seen things that other people haven't seen.
Right, and they love us no matter what,
That's right. There's zero judgment.
Right? I always say, can you drive around with someone in your trunk? Not that we want to do that, but but an animal, you could do that and they would still love us at the end, right?
Oh yes.
So, and then also, I also like to kind of go over what kind of animals that you think of with pet therapy.
Well, I think all animals really, bird watching can be extremely relaxing. Anything from swimming with dolphins that's been proven, that's therapy.
Absolutely.
Riding horses, there's plenty of equine therapy that goes on. We always think dog, but there's so many more avenues for pet therapy than just a dog or a cat. But I think that all kinds of animals can provide that therapy experience.
One of the reasons why I liked to have you on today was because you have personally, in your family, have had some pet therapy. Kind of just share some of the things that you've had in your personal life.
One of my founding moments that I knew that pets or animals could provide that type of relaxation or non-judgmental support, as we were talking about. Whenever I was a child, I had a traumatic childhood. It was, there were a lot of things traumatic that went on around me, in my home, outside of the home, just what I was surrounded with. And I remember I found a puppy. I didn't get a puppy. The puppy found me, really.
Right?
I just remember that puppy and holding the puppy and having the puppy with me. And I was lonely. I was a lonely child, and I didn't make friends well. I didn't have a lot of people around me, but that puppy followed me everywhere. And I just remember that was my first feeling of that puppy loved me and I loved the puppy. And I think it enhanced my life so much that stuck with me through all my years. So much so that later on, my daughter, she's 13. She's been through some traumatic events starting very early in age. And we tried counseling and we were in therapy. And I remember one day I took her to my friend's house who has horses. And she had a horse named Roy. And he was not necessarily overly warm to people. You could pet him and he was rideable, but he wasn't just come running to you. And we were standing in the barn where the stable was, and Nevaeh was standing there, and that horse came up to her, and she wasn't having a bad day or a bad moment that I knew of. And the horse came up and put his head on her shoulder towards her neck. And I watched my daughter transform, and I watched her physically let go of things through tears and emotion, and that horse just stayed and allowed her to work through. There weren't words exchanged. It was almost like everyone else in the vicinity had disappeared, and she just let go. And we continued to go back, and she continued to she ended up riding him bareback, and that was her first horseback riding experience. But it was something that I've seen over the years. Animals provide support to people, but I had never seen someone let go of what she let go of. And there's an innocence in a child.
Absolutely. And the dogs seem to hone in on that. Like, I know that my personal dogs, Blue and Millie. So Millie was my father's dog, and he had Alzheimer's. We got her, and there were just times where my dad would be so confused, and he had a lot of his life earlier about raising dogs and things like that, but Millie would just follow him, and it was really weird because usually it was the one that feeds him, and my mom would feed him, but Millie was just glued to my dad's hip. And when I realized that she needed to be a therapy dog, it was after my dad had passed, and my mom was on the couch and she was crying, and Millie was on all four legs, and she was down on her belly, and she was like laying flat on my mom's back. My mom had no idea. And I thought right then, it was a God wink. I thought, she needs to be a therapy dog. So we got her trained through Disabled Vet, which was a great organization. They have a non-for-profit organization for veterans.
I'm familiar with
Yes,
Disabled Vet.
yes. And so tell me a little bit about that.
So my dad is a disabled veteran.
Okay.
And he went through the Disabled Veteran Program to see about getting a service dog. He had animals. He had dogs in the past, and a couple of them, they lived, but they were old, and he lost those two dogs. He was able to be accepted into the program and go through the graduation process. It was amazing to see all of these veterans who had been through this program with these dogs that had been trained, and they all stand up there, and it's kind of like a rite of passage.
Absolutely.
They pass these dogs off to these veterans, and now it was very, very emotional. But the difference that it made with my dad, so there's multiple, it's a multifaceted thing, right? People that are depressed, or people that have PTSD, or maybe have physical ailments that make it hard for them. They have difficulties that we don't see. And maybe just getting up and going outside, having that responsibility, that
Absolutely. A purpose.
Yes.
Especially in the older demographics.
Right.
And, studies show that it also improves mental health. It lowers blood pressure. When you pet an animal, it pumps in the good serotonin. And like with Millie's eyes, it looks like she's like, oh, even if you may not like an animal or you've had a bad experience with them, it just releases that, just the worries of the word.
It's like a transference.
Yes.
Of a vibe, right?
Yes.
It's like that transference there. You're like,
taking a
they
deep
can
breath.
carry some, even though they probably don't knowingly carry it, but you feel like you're transferring some of that, and they're transferring some of that peace. It's just that
an aha moment almost sometimes.
right.
I know that I had witnessed this also. So we've been doing this pet therapy for almost 6 years, and I've had a lot of stories, but my favorite story was a gentleman that was in the later stages of Alzheimer's, and he lights weren't on, so he wasn't interacting. I brought Millie to him. I pull up in our little basket, and no interaction. So I asked his wife, she was sitting next to him, and I said, hey, do you mind if I put Millie in his lap? She's like, no, he would love it. So I look over, and he's smiling, and lights are on, interaction. He's interacting. And it was a breakthrough moment for him. And then I look over at his wife, and she's crying. And I'm like, why are you crying? And she's like, I haven't seen him smile in 3 months. And so that connection, come to find out, when he was smaller and younger in life, he had a dog of about the color. And I guess it ignites some good things. So those are the things. The other, I love this story. I was in a hospital, and I come in, and I've got the dog. I got the dogs, and I'm like, and I've got this gentleman, and I don't know what position he was in, and I could tell he was having a hard day, and he was talking to his staff, and I was like, I need to get out of here. Like, I felt like I was in junior high. Like, I'm getting in trouble by the principal. I didn't do it. So I walk out, and he's like, hey. And I'm like, oh. So I turn around, and he says, I need you to come over here. He gets down on his knees. He starts baby talking. And I was like, okay, I'm getting punked now. Like, something's going on, not right. And he pops up, and he said, thank you for bringing in the dog. He says to the staff, okay, we're not going to have that happen again. You all have a great day. And I was like, the transformation, like you said, it's amazing.
It's the transference of energy. There's just, cellular level. There's something.
Yes.
Dogs,
and it's proven,
right?
Scientifically. And that's
they don't speak, right? They're not like, it's okay, calm down. But that energy that they bring, you can feel that they want you to calm down.
Yeah, so it reduces your depression symptoms up to 50%. Like I said, it lowers your blood pressure. Cognitive benefits. So it stimulates memory, recall, verbal interaction, and especially with our residents. So, that's one thing at the Voyage Senior Living that we have several. So we have Cooper.
Mm-hmm. He likes to open the residents' doors. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever seen him do that. Not. But he knows, and he will go check on them. And he, as long as their door isn't locked, he can flip the handle and he walks right in there.
That. Oh, yes. I can't wait to see that.
Because some of them can't get up and answer the door. So when he scratches, if they don't come to the door, he'll just open it.
And that's so cool. And then we have Jose. Mm-hmm. And he was also trained. And there's other organizations throughout Southern Illinois now. When I got this Millie trained, there was only one, but now there's all different kinds, and there's all different kinds of different things. But they're in my face all the time. That's the only thing. They just want to make sure to be seen.
So I know that the Child Advocacy Program had contemplated the idea, and I think there are programs out there where they have support animals for children that have, been through some sort of trauma or something. And when you think trauma, it can be anything from losing your home in a fire or being displaced or, foster care, things of that nature. But I know that, they were thinking about that too. There's all kinds of programs that are starting with dogs, but I know we're a dog-friendly facility because we all have them at work. We've all got gates on our offices so we can all bring our pets to work.
And it does. It helps the mood. It helps the just loving on, and they love us unconditional. Mm-hmm. My sister is a school teacher at Washington and Marion, Illinois, and she has also a therapy dog that she is able to take in every day. I think he's ready to be done with this. Can you tell? He's the mover and shaker. So he is he's an Aussie Doodle Mini, which my dad would have called
he looks like Albert Einstein.
I know. That's what I like to say, too, because he's so good for the... Yes.
You can't look at him and not smile. I mean,
so
it's just cute.
I always ask him, I'm like, oh, look, especially for our dementia patients, hey, look, right here, look, Albert Einstein. And that usually, triggers. But she's a Cavalier King Charles. I want to thank you very much for joining us today. Pet therapy reminds us that healing doesn't come from just medicine. It comes from a paw, a nose, and a gentle nuzzle. Remember to follow Moments That Matter at the Voyage Senior Living on our Facebook and YouTube for our heartwarming stories. Until next time, take care and cherish the moments that truly matter.
Moments That Matter is brought to you by Binkley Ross Family of Funeral Homes, locally owned and operated. Binkley Ross Funeral Home, Blue Funeral Home, Mitchell Hughes Funeral Home. Call 618-997-7771 or find them at binkleyross.com. And by Melise's, tuxedos, menswear, custom embroidery, and apparel. Melise's, the best little suit shop in town. Call 618-993-1800 or go to melises.com.